boy cries. If he had cigarettes, he would smoke right now. But instead, he grabs the railing, rises with a painful wheeze, throws the backpack over his shoulder and goes downstairs on trembling legs, trying to ignore the pain. He doesn't have much of a choice, as well as extra money to go and spend the night in some hostel. So Jungkook only wipes his runny nose and wanders towards the subway. The trail of tears is almost gone by the time he persuades the guard standing at the back door to let him in. And he, either because he already knows Jungkook well, or out of pity for his broken look, but lets Jungkook inside. Jungkook wants to exhale as he walks up the stairs to the club. It'll all be over soon. He would just wait for me to finish her work and then they would go home together and sort everything out. She will help him, he knows. And in the meantime, he just has to wait. The boy makes his way to the dressing rooms, looking for Andy as he goes. He'll be furious if he finds out Jungkook came here without permission, so the sooner he confronts him and explains everything, the better. But Andy is nowhere to be found, so Jungkook takes a deep breath and looks into the dressing room. Some of the girls immediately pay attention to him. Jungkook, one of them, quirks an eyebrow. "What are you doing here?" "That night is the women's program, I know," he nods, bewildered, and looks down. Do you know where Andy is? Are you alright?" another girl asks. "You look, well, not very good," she lets out a mirthless chuckle. "Where's Andy?" He only repeats his question in a shaky voice, looking at the floor with empty eyes. "Or at least me, we haven't seen me for a long time," the first girl shrugs. "Maybe she left with a client or something. And Andy dumped somewhere. Something seemed to happen, we don't really know." "Oh, okay." He awkwardly squeezes the strap of his backpack. "Well, then you have nowhere to go," girl suddenly asks without any ceremony, causing Jungkook to raise a frightened look. "No one would come here in this state if they had other options." Jungkook smiles sadly with the corner of his lips. "Nowhere to go, yeah, then stay." The second girl, finishing her cigarette, puts the stub in an ashtray and nods at the sofa at the end of the room. "You should rest. You look like you have one foot in the grave. Would you mind if I sleep here? I promise I'll be out before closing." "Go ahead." First girl shrugs again. "Yes, of course. They're not all friends here. And lately there have been many rumors in the team that made Jungkook a black sheep. However, they are not entirely heartless to kick him out in such a state. And Jungkook is grateful even for that." "Thank you." The boy nods timidly, continuing to stare at his feet, and wanders over to the sofa. He tosses the backpack beside him and covers his face with his hands, sighing heavily. He feels at least somewhat safe now, and that frighteningly paranoid feeling that in the middle of the street the police will grab him by the arms and accuse him of killing a neighbor, even if Jungkook is not sure he's dead, is finally gone. At the very least, even if the police did somehow already know about what had happened, they would hardly have managed to get into this club so easily. He hears footsteps as one of the girls leaves, and the second girl's voice comes from somewhere above him. Inquiringly in response, not wanting to raise his heavy head. "Do you need a first aid kit first?" "First aid kit?" Jungkook freezes, looking up at her with eyes that burn with tears. But girl chuckles, and just wordlessly tracing his face with a finger with a long sharp nail. Swallowing hard, he rises to his feet and looks into the nearest mirror. Oh! Amazing! There is an abrasion on his cheekbone, and his lip is broken with blood. Pause. And Jungkook was so scared that he didn't even feel when he managed to give him all this. Wow! Later, he sighs, shaking his head, and returns to the couch, laying down on it with his feet, and wraps himself more tightly in his thin jacket. I really need some sleep. The second girl shrugs again, but says nothing more. It's up to you, the girl thinks, but she keeps the comment to herself, instead only returning to her makeup table and taking out a cigarette from the pack. Taehyung smiles wryly at one of his important guests before he leaves their group, saying that in a few minutes a waiter will come and show him to the right room. The fake smile disappears from the man's lips as soon as he walks into the service hallway, and he takes his phone out of his pocket, checking to see if he has received any messages. It's 3 in the morning. He just wants to get home as soon as possible, but tonight 2 important people decided to visit his club, and Andy, as luck would have it, went to the hospital on some urgent business with me, and until the manager, who got called out to the club for Andy, is here, Taehyung forced to control everything on his own. The second girl, he enters the dressing room, finishing typing a message to his subordinate to hurry up to work, and does not even look at the dancer. Please serve our dear client in the 4th room. He will be invited there in 5 minutes. He really liked you, so you better work perfectly for him, because this is a very important guest of mine. The girl puts her phone down, removes her feet from the dressing table, and gets up to start fixing her costume. As you wish, Mr. Kim, she says flirtatiously. And Taehyung nods, already about to leave, but decides to give the girl a quick one last look. And then his attention is drawn to the curled up body on the sofa a little further away. The man frowns, tilting his head to the side, and stares at the person intently. Is that Jungkook? He arches an eyebrow, and the second girl looks at the sleeping Jungkook before turning her gaze back to the man. Yeah, what is he doing here? He shouldn't be here tonight, the second girl sighs, shrugging, and leans over to the mirror to check her makeup. And Kim's eyes are still fixed on Jungkook. I don't know, he has nowhere to go or something. She adds some lipstick and shakes out her curls, giving herself one last look. He came here, looked pathetic, and asked if he could sleep here. This is where we let him in. An incomprehensible anger, mixed with discontent, gathers in Taehyung's chest. And he forces himself to ignore the girl's words about Jungkook looking pathetic. Now is not the time for Taehyung to deal with it. Why didn't anyone report to me? He asks, annoyed. Did we need to? I didn't know you cared about the well-being of every dancer in your club, Mr. Kim. Girl, who has already rushed to the exit, turns to the man and ambiguously remarks. Taehyung plays with his cheekbones, gesturing towards the door for her. Go. You have a client waiting, the second girl grunts under her breath, as if once again receiving confirmation of all those rumors that go around in the team, but she says nothing more and only leaves the dressing room with a quiet thud of her high heels. Taehyung stares after her for a few more seconds, and then sighs, wearily combs his hair back with his fingers and walks over to the sofa, squatting down in front of it. The man carefully examines the face of the young boy, and with his fingertips touches the abraded cheekbone, which is covered with an unpleasant red color and dried. He clenches his teeth as he looks down, noticing that the boy's lip has a little split covered in blood. Anger flares up inside only stronger. What happened? Who did this to Jungkook? And how unsafe did this little boy feel that he chose to come and sleep here? Hey, Taehyung whispers, pushing the hair back from Jungkook's forehead, and Jungkook frowns through his sleep. Baby, he still calls softly. Jungkook winces, but he doesn't wake up. He mutters, and Taehyung's jaw tightens as Jungkook himself tightens even more. What the hell happened to him tonight? But the man decides to put aside all the questions for a while and instead, straightening up, gently lifts the fragile body, pressing it to him, and confidently carries it away from the dressing room, heading to his office. If Jungkook is in this state and he needs sleep, then at least it's better to stay away from prying eyes. Overcoming the dark corridors, Taehyung goes to the office. But every now and then his gaze falls to Jungkook, who is sleeping in his arms. The boy continues to frown, muttering something unintelligible and barely audible, and Taehyung wants to destroy whoever dared to leave these disgusting marks on his face. However, he will deal with this later. First thing is Jungkook and his safety. Taehyung nods to his guard that has been waiting for him at the office all this time, and he immediately opens the door for the man. He carries Jungkook inside, gently laying him down on a sofa that's definitely bigger and more comfortable than the junk that's in the dancer's dressing room. Taehyung delicately lifts the boy's head, placing a small pillow under it, and peers into the drawer beside the sofa. He remembers for sure that there was a blanket around here somewhere. Covering the obviously frozen body, Jungkook is so shivering and shrinking, and his skin is too icy. It's almost impossible for Taehyung to not realize that he's cold. The man looks at him one more time, and then looks at the watch on his wrist, closing his eyes and sighing deeply. "Please, wait a little longer," he whispers, pulling the blanket up to cover the boy's body up to his neck, and leaves the room. Back in the hallway, he looks at his bodyguard. "Keep an eye on the office," he orders. "No one should come in here. And listen carefully. If Jungkook wakes up, or calls, or even makes any sound, let me know right away. Don't let him leave even if he wants to, until I get there." "Yes, sir," the man nods curtly. Taehyung takes one more look at the closed door with a hint of uneasiness before he walks back into the hall. And where the hell is that damn manager? A little more than half an hour passes before J-Hope hears strange sounds coming from the office. Something between crying and incomprehensible curses makes the man tense slightly, and he cracks open the door, looking into the dark room. The guard sees Jungkook's body trembling on the sofa, and his crying seems too loud now, but he is apparently still asleep. Closing the door back, he immediately takes out his phone from his pocket, dialing the boss number. Taehyung, meanwhile, is just giving the last orders to the manager who has arrived, and is already heading back to the office when the phone in his pocket vibrates and J-Hope's name lights up on the screen. The man quickens his pace. "What happened?" he says worriedly as he walks across the space of the corridor when he sees J-Hope at the door. "Hi, Mr. Kim. I just heard him crying and I looked inside, but he's still sleeping. Thought I have to let you know anyway." "Of course you have to," Taehyung says irritably, already gripping the doorknob as he looks back at the guy. "Go to the dressing room, get his stuff and take it to my car. Now." "Yes, sir." Taking a deep breath, Taehyung re-enters the office, immediately closing the door behind him, and walks over to the couch, where Jungkook continues to whimper through his sleep. "Baby, Jungkook, come on, look at me," the man asks softly, touching his cheek. "Come on, baby boy, wake up." But Jungkook shakes his head, still sobbing, and languidly tries to take the man's hand away. No, let me go."